It literally only took me one episode, and I was completely sold on Dead Dead Demons Dededede Destruction. I hate that name, but hey, it is what it is. I'm going to call it Dead Demons from now on. Dead Demons is a series that honestly I heard a lot of praise about the manga, and I wanted to check it out at some point. Then I heard that it was becoming a movie, and then out of nowhere, it decided to become an ONA, which is what I'm currently watching. And like I said, I watched the first episode. I skipped episode 0, by the way. I heard way too many people saying, do not watch episode 0. It literally takes place at like close to the end of the manga. I'm assuming it was created in order to create hype around it for those that watched the movie, but I skipped that. I went straight into the first episode and I'm already sold. So far, in a nutshell, what the series is doing so well for me currently is that it's nailing the idea of a slice of life within chaos. This idea that this world is kind of being warped and messed with, and people are just kind of going about their lives. It gets into aspects like people being complacent, people being worried, political intrigue. You have global aspects that are going on, and relationship between nations. All this stuff is kind of being all mixed together in a really solid package that I am absolutely loving. So despite the fact that Crunchyroll's subtitles suck really badly, it's been turning out really fantastic, and I'm here to talk about it. Like I said before, I skipped episode 0. This is my thoughts on the first 3 episodes, so let's just jump into it. Dead Demons opens up with the appearance of this massive orb in our modern times Japan. And soon after, this mothership actually comes out of the orb and floats all the way above Tokyo. Well, obviously, people start to panic. The globe as a whole is obviously panicking at the appearance of what they assume is alien life forms. They call for help to the other nations. Eventually, yes, the United States, being United States, just goes over there and drops a nuke right on top of the mothership. Well, it doesn't do anything to it, but it does cause a lot of damage. And then we cut forward 3 years. People are kind of going about their daily lives. They're kind of continuing on with their lives. Yes, you obviously have the governments are all steadily watching this ship and the orb, trying to make sure that nothing happens. While at the same time, yes, some people are kind of upset about what happened 3 years prior. You also have every now and then these little small ships will come out of the mothership. They'll float around for a little bit and then they'll go back to the mothership. Sometimes they'll run into power lines and crash, at which point typically the United States will show up, they'll rush in there, grab any life forms or whatever that comes out of it, and just take off with it. Well, yes, a lot of the focus will jump around to different groups, like the different governments, the military groups, how they're, focused on the actual crafts that are coming out of it, what they're going to do about the situation. You have one technology group that's trying to create a laser that can shoot them out of the air. Most of the focus is actually in on 2 students specifically, Korone and her friend Anton. The 2 of them are in high school, and specifically Korone kind of has a very negative perspective on her future. She just assumes that the appearance of this ship is going to cause the climate to mess up. Eventually, the low birth rates and everything are going to happen, so she has no future ahead of her. Anton, on the other hand, is a little bit more eccentric. She just wants to have fun, hunt down things. If there's a craft over here that crashed, she just so badly wants to go check it out. She's a lot more free-spirited. And yes, her vocabulary and her choice of words and how she talks about things is probably heavily influenced by her brother. They do have 3 other friends, which mostly the focus of them 3 is mostly in Kiho. Well, she's a new member of their friendships, and she's trying really hard in order to stand out, and so she decides to get a boyfriend, and that doesn't work out. And steadily over time, we get the indication that there's possibly some life forms that are actually trying to incorporate themselves into humanity. But we really haven't gotten too much into that. So my thoughts on Dead Demons so far. Like I said earlier, I spoiled it. Yes, I am absolutely loving this show so far. Again, the main thing that I like so much about this show is that it's nailing this uneasiness despite the fact that life is moving forward. Despite the fact that you have this massive spaceship that has shown up, yes, the military and the governments and everything has responded. They can't really do anything about it, and they're just waiting. And they're constantly wondering, why hasn't this ship done something? Is it planning to destroy us? Is it trying to take over us? Is there life forms in it at all? What is the purpose of this thing, and what exactly is it doing? But the citizens themselves can't really do anything about it, and thus they kind of just continue on with their lives. There is these brief moments of fear, like initially when the ship first showed up, there was this panic moment where you had Korone and she's watching the news and she's freaking out. Her dad's over here and he's going, we're going to war. Like something bad's going to happen. And Korone is terrified. But even still, the father has to go back to work. It's got that unsettlingness of, but still life has to go on. I still have to do my job. Again, I like that aspect because I think that is so true. Even in our current society, when there's a war that's brewing up, people still have to go to work. There's still this kind of sense of some people going, why are you so okay with this? And I think that was cemented most with Kiho and her boyfriend, Kenichi. Kenichi is one of the first experiences that we have amongst the kids where he's literally going, why are we okay with this? Why are we complacent with this? This is not a good thing. And he's even pointing out that the people in the outside world, like people outside of Tokyo, still in Japan, they see people that are in Tokyo underneath this mothership. They're making rumors online that they're all brainwashed, which you can kind of start questioning that. Because again, the main question here is, why is everybody okay with being right here? You would assume that most people that are underneath this mothership get the heck out of there. Like, get out of here. But not everybody has that choice. Not everybody has the capability of just upping their roots and just going off and running off somewhere. Again, life goes on. And I like how they really nail that. It's not as if some people don't choose to do that. It's just that most people choose to do that. Again, that idea of complacency. But going back to the main two characters, Korone and Onton, I absolutely love their chemistry together because, yes, while Onton is very weird, she acts very, very weird, very quirky. At the same time, like I said earlier, I probably, so far, I'm kind of attributing that to probably her brother. Her brother is just this guy that just stays online 24/7, constantly fighting people that are know-it-alls and criticizing them and exposing them. And it seems to be implying that he uses their personal information to blast them online. I would assume that most of her talk of like cults and capitalism and stuff like that's probably something that he kind of impressioned upon her. But she's a dork, and I absolutely love her quirkiness. She just wants to go out and just do the weirdest things. And this is something that it seems like Korone actually attaches to. Despite the fact that early on, it seems like Korone is very so much so negative about her future. Again, she's one of the few people right now that when the spaceship is right there, she's thinking about all the negative effects of it. She's talking about climate change. She's talking about, birth rates going down, the fact that they're probably all going to turn into forced servitude very, very quickly. The economy is going to tank. Why do I bother even going to college? She has little hope for the future. So much so that she seems like she's very impressioned by her teacher and even trying to get with her teacher. But it all kind of culminates to this idea that it seems like she does appreciate Anton and her personality. She doesn't understand Anton, but at the same time, this is somebody that she wants to follow. And I'm assuming that because of Anton's desire to look into these aliens, it's probably going to lead to her to probably follow her into looking into it. Because again, it does seem like society as a whole just doesn't care. They've accepted this. But I do have to say that a lot of my intrigue of the show so far was probably opened up from Kenichi. Again, this boyfriend of Kiho. Again, he's the one that seems to be like he's deep diving in the internet. He's one that actually spotted somebody coming out of one of these crafts. He's one of the few people that is kind of going, why are we okay with this? And again, it did bring up the massive question mark on the idea that if people on the internet are saying these things, do you believe it? It goes in that whole idea of making your own mind up about the situation, but additionally kind of opening the door to the idea of what if these people are being controlled in some way. One of the things that keeps showing at some point is that there's this effect that's coming from the ship itself. It's almost like this warping that's happening, this noise. And my assumption could be the idea that what if there is some sort of like mind control beam that is hitting these people to calm them down or to possibly do tests on them. They even implied early on that Korone's father, when he left out to go to work, he never came back. What happened to him at that point? Are people slowly disappearing? Would people know if somebody disappears? And I even have my theories on possibly Anton being, I don't know, maybe an alien that is actually living amongst them that was sort of implanted there, and people assume that she's always been around. What makes it so intriguing is really the fact that it's presented so much unknown, but yet shown so much about how these people have accepted the existence of this craft there and moved on with their lives, that it opens the door to a lot of possibilities. And then yes, having a certain person show up at some point does technically continue to open up that door. But yeah, loving the story, loving the characters, loving the setup so far, cannot wait for more. Now let's get into visuals. Visuals, I love it. They are absolutely nailing the aesthetic of this manga. And I really do feel like this is a very so much so out of the norm of your typical anime style. So I do have to give the studio a lot of credit for nailing that. It's kind of got a scrunchiness to it that I really do like. Unfortunately, the biggest negative right now that I think most people are running into by watching this show is that Crunchyroll is not doing a good job. Whoever Crunchyroll is using, whatever group, whatever decision they have made for the subtitling of this show, it's pretty horrendous. And this kind of extends to the dub as well, is that they are essentially dub titling. What that basically means is that they have a script that they're using for the dub of the series, which they're releasing at the same time, and they're just using that script for the subtitles. Now that presents two major issues. One, yes, you get that typical altering of the dialogue that happens with dubs because they're matching it with lip flaps. It seems like you get a little bit of censorship, but additionally, there is a massive problem with timing. So if a character is talking and they're off screen, and the talking isn't having to be matched with lip flaps, you'll often have characters talking in the anime in Japanese, and the subtitles isn't even there yet. Additionally, like I said earlier, not really so much censorship, but there is altering happening that you typically get with dubs happening to the subtitles is, yes, for both cases, you have a lot of dialogue that's being changed to have different meaning. A easy example is that you have at some point, one of the characters says that they're going to go look at ero sites. They're going to look at, yes, adult sites. The translation they use for the dub, which again was copied over to the subtitles for the Japanese version, says this complicates things. That's literally not what he said. Additionally, you have the brother was translated to saying that he's looking for virtue signaling people. There's a lot of very questionable choices they're making with the actual translation that, yes, might be perfectly fine for most dub watchers, but for us subtitle watchers, we typically are used to that being a little bit more closer to the original and not having to be altered to match lip flaps. It has me really concerned about what else we're missing. It's enough that I'm actually considering reading the manga alongside of it because I'm afraid that I'm going to miss context here. This show has already shown me that it is willing to kind of get into some really deep-rooted subjects and not hide from certain things. A prime example is the teacher literally telling the girl, once you graduate, meaning that once you're actually, of age, come back to me. Again, it's unsettling, and a lot of people are going to be very uncomfortable with that, but that's what the story says, and I don't want that altered. And again, I think at the end there, him saying that he's literally going to look at ero sites is a very questionable subject that it's getting into. I don't like my content being softened because somebody thinks it's too inappropriate. At the same time, I don't want to not watch the show because I think it's incredible so far. So I'm kind of in that difficult spot right now where I want to watch it, but at the same time, I'm struggling and I don't want to wait for somebody to hopefully fix subtitle, which I'm assuming somebody that's a massive fan is probably going to fix the subtitling and distribute it elsewhere. Because if we're technically 4 episodes in at this point, and Crunchyroll is still screwing it up and people are still complaining about it and they're not doing anything about it, it gives me the indication they're planning on not doing anything about it, which is really concerning for something that seems very high profile. Why would you not fix it? Why would you keep using the dub script? And the other problem that comes from the dub script is that there's no on-screen text. Since they're not translating to use subtitles but use for the dub, that means it has no on-screen text. And I think that's a massive problem because you're missing context. For example, Kenichi, at some point, he is panicking because he just seen something. So he's huddled up in his room and he's posting on social media that he's going to die. He's going to die. He keeps repeating that and he's texting that and he's putting it on social media. That's what Kiho talks about later. She says, I seen your post on social media and I got concerned. Well, you wouldn't know that context unless you knew what was on the screen. So it kind of turns one of those things where you're having to worry about what is being altered, what is being softened or censored, as some people would call. And additionally, you're having to sit there with Google Translate on your phone to constantly look at the screen and see what the text is saying. This is a very poor job being done by Crunchyroll, and I hope they fix this quickly. But anyways, with all that said, I still absolutely love the show and I want more, and that's why I'm so frustrated with the subtitling that's happening, is that I want to love this and have the full experience and not have to constantly worry about what I'm watching. This show is fantastic. The characters are fantastic. The visuals are fantastic. The directing is fantastic. The perspective shots is fantastic. The mood is fantastic. The music, the sound effects, everything about this show is fantastic, which makes sense because it was a movie once. But anyhow, I hope you guys enjoyed my impressions as always. If you did, make sure to hit that like button down below, comment, let me know what's the good series so far if you're going to be checking it out. Additionally, if you're new to the channel, make sure that subscribe button to get my content. I do news, reviews, first impressions, top lists if it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, if you like this content and you want to support the channel more, I have a Patreon link, tips, links, so thanks, membership button below. Greatly appreciate it, but it does. Y'all take care.